Warning: this stream is rated for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, there we go. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slate of Game Shatterproof Theater. My name is Scotty, also known as EBC, and this is the Arcade Nostalgia Memories podcast, and I've already got to fix some shit because I forgot some shit, and it's all shit, and yeah. Let's, there.
Professional podcast.
Nothing is professional here. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, this is episode 3, and the person all the way to the right, SleightofGame, is going to be our sponsor for this month. So Slight requests that you go and check out shatterproof.org, and I'm going to put the link in the chat here. All you have to do is click that link. Fuck you, Cage. That's my job.
Not really. It's kind of literally my job.
So click on that link and check it out. Shatterproof is an organization that helps anybody that's suffering from drug addiction. This is a subject that is near and dear to Slight's heart, so go check that out, and if you are so inclined, make a donation. It would mean a lot to him. So the Arcade Nostalgia Memories podcast episode 3 is the man himself. Sleight of Game is our guest today. But before that, we have to get to this guy in the middle with what appears to be a tiny little toy or dog hat perched precariously on top of the Chrome Dome that is Legion Cage.
Willy Wonka hat. Thank you.
Chrome Dome.
Willy Wonka. Oh, you mean is that a Mike TV hat?
No, it's supposed. It's excuse me. It's supposed to actually be a Willy Wonka top hat. It may be from a dog costume, but it's supposed to be a Willy Wonka top hat.
Oh, okay. So that's an
Just
like
Woody's hat.
like
Toy Story.
like the hat that Willy Wonka wore. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I didn't see it, so you failed. Anyway, Cage is my co-host. Welcome, Cage. Are you well? Are you breathing okay still? Like there's
No, but I haven't died yet, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Man, we've all been sick. Like almost every single person I know has recently had within the last month some version of the flu. And I gotta say, I'm not surprised because I don't know if you recall the news at the time, but last year flu season was practically non-existent. And part of that was because of COVID. You know, people were masking and social distancing and all that. And I thought to myself, this was, you know, maybe going to be a thing. This flu coming back with a vengeance this season, and boy, did it! It seems like everybody's had it, and it was pretty damn debilitating when I had it about 2.5 weeks ago. Slight, did you have any type of flu? Anything?
Just thinking, I'm not gonna even talk about it because as soon as I say that I haven't had it yet,
you're gonna get it.
Boom! Now you're done.
Knock on wood. You're gonna knock on your head.
I'm not.
Well, you know, and it was like to your point, Scotty. You know, believe in it, don't hate it, love it, whatever. You're right. People were doing things a lot differently last year when it came to masking, social distancing, better sanitizing, all that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of people honestly thought, you know, that was going to be the new normal. I did, and here
at
we
least
are
for
a year
a while.
later. Yeah, and here I honestly I work in a hospital. I never thought I'd be able to walk around a hospital without a mask on again.
Right.
And they lifted that restriction. Like we do not have to do that.
Yeah. Well, and then the
So-
CDC as well, you know, coming out and saying, okay, all the restrictions, the recommendations are dropped and all that. And there's also no difference in the recommendations between vaccinated and unvaccinated. So yeah. Whatever. I ignore half of this shit because it's all so stupid. Anyway, Slight, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do and why and all that good stuff?
Who I am. Oh man, so many reveals.
Why are you
The
amazing?
SleightofGame channel. It's funny because I always, as a kid, thought, what if I miss a game? Like, what if I miss something that's released? I'm not going to be able to keep up. And ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to just like, it's like little Anakin wanting to see all the stars. I wanted to play all the games. So I thought when I started the channel, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep playing them until I die, essentially. So that's what I do. Just play games, even if I hate them.
Well, and you might as well
Boy.
put that out on Twitch and maybe make a few bucks off of it here and there. You know?
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, what are you at now? 100 and
I don't even know. I'm gonna type it in my own chat.
I was gonna say I totally did that the other day. You weren't online, but I was trying to think of myself. I was trying to get
I was
the
updating
list
it.
of games, and I'm like, I can just type this in his chat. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it'll pop up.
It's 143 now.
There you go.
Yeah, because I played a whole bunch of little teeny tiny games.
Okay. Hold on. We're gonna take a break from recording the podcast so I can yell at somebody in my chat. And an anonymous gifter has gifted a whole bunch of subs there. 10 subs, it looks like.
The hell was that?
I really appreciate you, Anonymous, but no. Please don't.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I mean, anonymous.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Ryan is new to my channel. I have railed previously against Twitch and the Twitch subscription system, the fact that they take half, and the fact that and maybe I'm a little bit alone, not alone, but just like I've not been happy with what the fuck Twitch has been doing with the hate raids and the bots and all the bullshit, basically. So that's why I set up the Patreon. But either way, it's your money. You can do with it as you please. I appreciate you all the same. So thank you very much.
Encapsulates your whole channel.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Just that look on his face and that emote.
Yep, exactly. That's why that's the only emote I have is Ben Stein. So
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need.
and because of that, because I have not encouraged anybody to, do subs. Obviously a few people have here and there. I haven't done anything with emotes or, any big things with sound alerts or channel redemptions or any of that stuff.
Right.
So that's fine.
Well, because if you did, then that would encourage more subscriptions to get the emotes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd rather people go do my Patreon instead.
Well, see, and that's like for me, that's one of the reasons why.
Ryan says he didn't do that.
That's because it's
okay.
not that guy, Ryan.
It's not that guy, Ryan. It's the other guy, Ryan.
It's the other.
All right. So now that we got that out of the way, thank you, Anonymous, whoever you are. I appreciate you. Yeah. But
It's not me because I'm too vain to not take credit for something like that.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. So we're gonna get back into recording the podcast here. Thank you again. Oh, for fuck's sake, Anonymous. Mm-hmm. Knock it off.
Fight the man, Anonymous. Also fight the man, Scotty.
I love you. I appreciate you. Knock it the fuck off. All right. Thank you. All right. So we're going to get back to the podcast here. All right. So SleightofGame. The game that you have chosen today is Metal Gear Solid.
Gear.
Let's just go ahead and get right into that here. Give me 1 second. Let me get over to the thingamabobber with the thing and the thing and do the thing.
Anonymous gifter.
Yeah.
28 subs.
All right. Now we got that. Okay. Now, give me 1 second here before we. I'm trying to think if there's another way I can do that.
On a bright note, Scotty, you'll be able to upload more emotes if you decided to. I'm pretty sure those 2 gift rounds alone will
probably
get you
bump it
enough
up
to at least like 3 or 4 emotes.
Yeah.
Plus, you had the 5 free that they gave you anyway. So
It looks so
Right.
bright for some reason right now. Is that just me?
Okay, give me a second. I have to adjust some of the volume things here because the way this is doing this. Now I bump that down.
Oh, I see.
Okay, there we go.
I see who may have done it.
Either way, I'm going to yell at them and maybe shove something up their ass, because what the fuck, man. All right, so Metal Gear Solid. This is Slight. Is this your favorite game, Slight, or like one of your top
It's hard
favorites?
to say anymore what my favorite is, but I mean it was for so long. I just that's my favorite game now officially.
You've played so many with your journey.
Yeah, I mean I liked it
So-
for such a long time. I was obsessed. I'm very obsessive, so I really liked it. Learned
Okay.
everything about it. Played it like 5,000 times.
Do you remember how old you were when you first started playing it?
It's 11.
11-year-old Slight. I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were ever.
Instead of
11.
playing like Mario and stuff, I was playing Metal Gear Solid. Go figure.
I thought you were born 20.
Yeah, and then I stayed that way. I never got over it.
All right, so Slight, if you would, actually, you know what? I'm all jumbled up now because of this stupid
Yeah.
I was gonna say
anonymous.
we
we-
totally skipped an entire segment.
I was trying to basically just cut Cage out
That's
of
right.
the
I just wanted
show.
to see who was in the chat. That's
Yeah.
what I was doing right now. I'm good.
All right, Mr. Cage, would you give us
Yes.
like a history and tell us what was going on with this game approximately in the thing when it came out?
All right. So reveals Slight was 11 in 1998. You can do that math. From there, September 3rd, 1990. Well, I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that's the first time he played it. Anyways,
True.
that's when it released, though. September
I had that
September
ready. I had that
3rd,
ready.
1998 was the release of Metal Gear Solid. So there wasn't a ton, honestly, that happened that day. I literally was kind of the big thing that day. I looked at like the big movies and stuff that were going on at the time. About the one big thing that I can tell you, and number one on the charts in the USA, number one on the charts probably in the world. And if you say you weren't listening to it, you literally were not near a radio. Number one song, Aerosmith's I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, because that song was everywhere.
Dude,
including
I was singing that at karaoke back when that came out.
I was gonna say it was definitely jamming in my wife's CD player. That is for sure. She loves Aerosmith. She loves that song. May have been the song we danced to at the wedding. It was everywhere. Other things you might have heard would have been like Monica, The First Night, Jennifer Page's Crush, Usher's My Way, and Brandy and Monica teaming up for The Boy Is Mine. Movies out at the time: Rushmore, Pleasantville, Rush Hour. I'm assuming Armageddon was still around.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pleasantville, that's a great one. I haven't seen it in forever.
It was a pretty good movie, absolutely. So yeah, but that was a time. Metal Gear Solid release though, and I can't find my tab. So it was developed by Konami and released for the PlayStation originally, following up the series for the MSX2. But more commonly, people played the first Metal Gear games on the original NES. They were ports of the MSX2 version, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. So this was the third game in the series, but this was the first foray into 3D. It was definitely a highly touted about game. Like, I remember before it came out, I got was it like official PlayStation magazine? You guys remember? Well, Scotty probably don't, but like Slight, you remember that where they had the demo discs in it?
Yeah, that's how I discovered this game.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Demo
I got a demo disc that had the like first area of this game on it.
Yep.
And
Same one.
I probably played like, I don't know, like 50 hours of the demo, and all you can do in the demo, I mean, the demo like is supposed to last 10 minutes or something like that, but I made it last hours. But yeah, it was fantastic. When it finally released in 98, like I said, it was very well regarded. It got an average of 94 out of 100 on Metacritic.
Insane.
Yes. More than 7 million copies sold worldwide, 12 million demos shipped. That's on this. That's kind of entertaining to like know that. It is regarded as one of the greatest and most important video games of all time. And honestly, it kind of really helped popularize the stealth genre. Games like Splinter Cell, Hitman kind of really came about because of this game. The original one was remade in 2004 as Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, and that was done for the GameCube. They had a lot of adding of like better graphics, some extra things with it, that kind of thing. But yeah,
I played that one too.
That's one I own it. I have never actually played the Twin Snakes version, but I really do want to. And it's on my list of games to play, even though I'm not doing every game ever.
I mean, I'm not either.
But yeah. This game was just insane as to what it did for like the
It was,
genre
like,
and games as a
changing.
whole.
Yeah.
Like, I really doubt that Scotty had ever played this. I can't remember if he said before.
No,
we went
I
live.
feel like
Are
he
you
would have
kidding
liked
me?
the story.
No.
For
I think
sure.
he would too.
It's very much up Scotty's alley.
And because it was made by Konami, there's actually a boss fight with an Easter egg in the game, where he'll read your mind, and if you have a Castlevania Symphony of the Night save file on your memory card, he'll be like, "I see you like Castlevania."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was just freaking cool, you know.
That's
Couldn't do
interesting.
that before the time of memory cards, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're like this big, right? The little gray ones.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So here.
All right. Yeah, no, there's no chance in hell that I ever played this game because one, I never had a PlayStation. Even my brother did. My brother is the game collector, right? So even when he was growing up, he really didn't have much of anything aside from the same things that I had, which was an old NES and N64. So we never had PlayStation or Xbox or anything else like that. And it wasn't until a little bit later. Like I know my brother went to live with our cousin for a while, before he graduated, and he had probably like a PS1. So maybe he started getting into some of the PlayStation games then, but I'd say by the time my brother was graduating, he still didn't have very much experience with any other consoles. So, and then my gaming experience kind of ends there, and didn't pick up again until much more recently. And even then, I still only have an NES and an SNES. I had an Xbox 360 and I sold it. I didn't care much for the modern gaming aspect. But yeah, as far as that goes, that I think so far from what I have seen, being a non-gamer, most of the storylines are pretty excellent storylines, depending on what it is. If it's a more popular game, that seems to be indicative of that. Is the story is really decent. I really enjoyed Parasite Eve. I really enjoyed Silent Hill. Even to some degree, some of the things like Halo or Borderlands, like when our second episode in the first season, Joho presenting Borderlands, and he gave us a sampling of Tiny Tina's Wonderland or Adventureland or whatever that's called, the DLC.
Assault on Dragon's Keep.
Yeah, and that was fantastic. I really love that. I mean, how many times have you heard people say they love Handsome Jack's character in Borderlands? That sort of thing. The storytelling aspect, I think, is best. All right, so I'm going to get the playthrough started. And Slight, why don't you go ahead and start giving us a little bit of a rundown on the game, starting with the story and who you're playing as and what you're doing.
I mean, right off the bat, right here, you're not able to, especially if you just were in a quiet room, you can hear the music already is next level.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that's one of the things that Metal Gear, it was one of the first, if I'm not mistaken, to really take games and make them like movies, to where today we have like a cutscene, right? We have to sit and watch a cutscene, then play the game. That's kind of what they were early pioneers of. And right here, right off the bat, you're sitting and watching a movie. Besides the graphics of its time, if this were remade, like with today's graphics, this would be an incredible movie. So the story starts off very simple. You're some sort of a government agent who's going to take care of terrorists. That's basically essentially it, but it gets so convoluted very quickly. And what I like about it, I didn't show it in this, but before this cutscene, you can actually go into the menu, like the start menu, and you can go and look at like previous stories, so they kind of give you like a 3 or 4 page text to read,
Okay.
where it just kind of gives you a rundown of like the previous game, so you know where you're at. So yeah, unless you're a heavy Metal Gear fan, this is actually not the first game. This is Metal Gear Solid Part 1. And that's the most popular one that started it. But there were 2 other games, like Cage was saying, like in the 87 and 89. They just weren't as popular.
So what were the first? There was one game before this, or a couple?
There were 2. There were 3. So there was 87, the very first one. We actually shared the same birthday, Metal Gear, right? July 1987. We both came out. And you're playing that MSX version. It's very difficult. It's a baby game. And then Solid Snake, the agent, takes on another mission in the second game after that, which was 1990. But then it wasn't until 1998 when this one came out where they started to Kojima decided to play around with the new technology and see what PlayStation's capable of doing. And here we have finally a 3D version of what existed before, which was for some reason it was much more popular for sure. So this is the only game people remember really when they're casual fans.
Yeah, most people thought that's like.
Yeah, a lot of people.
This is where it started.
Yeah.
Well, this is the only.
On in...
This is the only game I've heard of with that title.
Yeah.
And
the first one was Metal Gear, just Metal Gear.
So just Metal Gear, and then you had Metal Gear 2.
Yeah, so somebody tried to make
Snake.
one that was called Snake's Revenge, and it wasn't canon. It was thrown out, and so Kojima made an actual official one, which was Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. And now we have this one, Metal Gear Solid. So Metal Gear Solid is the main thing. You go Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Gotcha.
This is the first.
And I'm assuming that's much more popular than the first 2 games as well.
Yeah, this is pretty much where it all started. So you don't actually have to play the first 2 games, but I went in and I looked at the... Let's see if I do it here. You can see where it says briefing. There's a whole section where you can read the text, right? You get a summary of the first 2 games. And then there's also briefing, which I totally skipped on this part. The briefing tapes alone will probably take an hour. These games were very well known for being a little lengthy on the cutscenes.
Thorough.
There are times where you're sitting for especially in part 2, for 45 minutes, just sitting there watching this thing.
Wow.
It's really long. He's very long-winded as a storyteller. He'll just go off on tangents, But this one's not too bad at doing that.
So who are you playing as?
So you're playing as Solid Snake, which at this point in the story you don't know too much. You just know that, and there's Liquid, that's the main antagonist. Liquid Snake. So there's Solid Snake and there's Liquid Snake. That's just their code names.
I see what you did there.
And you have to... It's all stealth. There is no action. Apparently, from what I remember, he had actually started running out of time. He wanted it to be, just a typical action game and beat 'em up, sneak around and stuff, but more action than stealth. But he gets so to this day he takes forever to make a game, and I guess he just threw something together to where it just became a stealth game over time, and it's stuck. So this is it.
Okay.
So at this point, you're just antsy. You're just like, okay, when's the game going to start? He's just telling you how to call him, how to get... You can actually go through and manually input the frequency, 140.85.
Okay, so this is like a tutorial, basically.
Yeah, and you use that thing like a radio. You can actually call different people. Sometimes you can find frequencies on your own. You just that they don't tell you about to find secret characters or Easter eggs.
Hmm.
So this is it. Officially, boom, gameplay starts.
Okay.
So you use the D-pad to walk around. And it's weird because like most games, A, or X would be the action button, but in this case it's not.
And like Slate, you were saying, you use the D-pad to walk around, and this was a PlayStation game, but this was actually before the DualShock controller was released. It may not have been before, but it was designed for people who did not have the DualShock controller.
Yeah, I think it. I want to say the DualShock existed because this is jumping ahead, but the whole Psycho Mantis thing, he starts to move your controller. That's
true.
That's super trippy. So yeah, so you can look at on the top right of the screen, you'll see a it's not a mini map, but essentially you're just supposed to use it to your radar to check to see if enemies can see you, which right here they obviously did. So I want to show off all aspects of the game. So they keep calling you, by the way, to bug you like this.
It's the worst.
It's optional. You don't have to answer them, but this one flashed red, which means that it's going to answer for you because it's imperative that you know that you are being hunted. I'm like, yeah, get off of me. I'm trying to do it.
Hey, did you notice that guy over there trying to kill you?
Yeah, exactly. Or you'll go up to a ladder and it'll say, snake, press circle to... I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how it goes into first-person mode when you're under things, when you're crawling around. So I wanted to show off different things. I think I knock right here just to... It might not be in this spot, but you can actually go up against the corner and you can knock on the wall to make sounds to distract the soldiers, which is innovative. It was
interesting.
such a concept. Right here, the water, it makes sounds. It makes puddle sounds. So when you look at the little radar, that white or red area is their vision of field, or their field of vision. I got that backwards. And if it's red, you've been spotted. If it's yellow, it's caution. They're suspicious. But it's fun. You can either just run through them all like I did, or you can mess around and you can try to. There's a section coming up where there's snow, and you can actually make footprints, and then the guards will get suspicious of your footprints, and they'll follow the trail right to you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, as a stealth game, you could probably try to play this primarily as never get spotted, never set off the guards.
Correct.
Okay.
Which that was the goal the first time I played it. After a few playthroughs, you start to just want to shoot them up and see what you can do. There's all kinds of Easter eggs in these games. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so let's cover some more of the gameplay in depth. You said it's primarily D-pad that you're just using to move back and forth. What kind of items and weapons do you have to collect?
So they tell you early on that the mission is weapons and equipment OSP, so on-site procurement. So you're just supposed to, you go in and you just find stuff as you go. You find cardboard boxes, which you can use to cover yourself and hide, the iconic thing.
I just pictured the guy standing there with a cardboard box over his head saying, "You can't see me."
Yeah, you find guns. It's not a shooter, but you do find the first thing you're about to find here is a pistol, a SOCOM pistol. Usually they'll start you in these games with a tranquilizer gun.
Okay. What about melee or some of those stealth moves knocking a guy put
you
your
can go up to
arm
somebody,
around somebody's neck and snuff them out?
Yep. There's multiple. They started taking that to the next level, but in this one you can either just punch, kick, combo them, and then run away because they're gonna get back up, or do that several times to knock them out, or you can press, I believe it was square. You go up behind somebody, you press square, and you can start choking them. And you have to repeatedly press square to choke them out.
Interesting.
Or if you keep going, like you can let it go and then they just pass out. Or you can keep going until you hear a snap and you can break their neck.
Wow.
And then the characters will just blink out of existence, like games used to do.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was just, I think what made it cool, besides the story aside, there was just so much stuff you can do. From the footprints in the snow, to the sound of the water, to knocking, knocking on some door to get their attention, and then you can go around, like they'll come this way, and then you can go around the other way. And then the second one, you can even hide the bodies, like knock them out, hide them in a locker. They're very innovative.
Okay, so that's the primary thing, is just stealth, moving around, trying to get past all the guards.
Yeah, you just want to
and
try to not ever get caught. You can get caught, but it just makes life harder if you're caught.
Right. And what about other types of scenarios, like vehicles or dealing with the combat if you are getting caught?
You use the vehicles to hide. You can crawl and hide under them. Except for one sequence at the end of the game, you don't really. There's no vehicle driving or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, towards the end of the game, you're actually in a vehicle. You're shooting. Somebody else is driving. So there's actually no driving yet.
Oh, so yeah, that's almost like avoid all the bullets as they're flying at the vehicle.
Yeah.
Type deal.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's cool because in this game, this is 1998, so it was being made earlier than that. It came out in 98, and you can switch. It's very, very bad, but you can switch to first person and look around. I don't even remember how to do that. It's like,
does it make it harder to play?
Yeah, you can't walk around, but you can look around in first person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now right here, they're actually going over what I was saying. The blue cone, the dot, they're just showing you kind of how to use that little radar.
I think you can, if you have a gun equipped, you can shoot in first person, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah. Yeah, just like Banana saying, you can aim down the sights and then hold triangle, to look in first person. But I wouldn't recommend it.
Interesting.
This is an area where this was all in the demo. So the demo was pretty long. The Cage is right. Like, if you take all the cutscenes out, you just skip it all. Metal Gear is pretty much an interactive movie. There's not much gameplay. You just put all the gameplay together, you can beat it in, like, I don't know, 3 hours tops.
I remember last season when we were interviewing Whitney, Cage, you were saying about how, you were manager at GameStop then, and you had gotten the demo for BioShock. And you went home and played it, and then you came back to the store that night to put your order in for that. I'm wondering, like, how many times did you guys play a demo and you're just like, I gotta have this fucking game?
As far as playing a demo and then having to have the game, probably twice, honestly.
Yeah.
BioShock and this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd gotten. I'll save that for the next segment. But that's how I started. Is the demo disc, and I don't normally just play demo disc and say, "Oh, I want this game right now." But the way we're gonna get to this part here, but not too long after this is where the demo ends, and you're just like, "Oh no!" Like, you were starting to get into it. And, it was well done.
And that's probably the aim of a good demo, is to get you hooked, and then go buy the rest of it.
Look at his footprints. So you can leave footprints in the snow, which go away after a little while, which is also realistic because it's snowing, right?
Yeah.
But you have binoculars, you have cigarettes, which if you go to the briefing, back up a bit, you go to that menu before the game starts, go to briefing, and you can watch these tapes. And it's just kind of like a prologue, right? So it's just, if you want to watch it, you can. I was so into the story, I did anyway. It just explains, like, you're supposed to be brothers. So you and the protagonist are twins, he's Liquid Snake, you're Solid Snake. You're supposed to look the same, and why does this guy have short brown hair where the other guy has long blonde hair? Which is also explained in the tapes. So you can sit there and watch the prologue, and they just kind of go over little things, like he smuggles cigarettes into his stomach. He wasn't supposed to have them, right? But he's addicted to smoking, like really bad. And you can choose to use the cigarettes, which drain your life very slowly. But you can use them to like see infrared or lasers, right, for traps. Because the smoke, you'll see this little laser there.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy.
I am
Yeah.
amazed by the level of detail in
It's
this.
insane.
For
This
the
guy
age.
takes forever to make games, though. That's his thing. Konami didn't much like that. It'd be like 7 years, I think he was working on Metal Gear 5 before they said, okay, you need to release it right now.
Yeah.
Look at this. Your first little sweaty game stuff. You got to go, learn the patterns, go through the things.
Stay out of the
You
light.
don't have to pick everything up. Yeah. Here I had hesitated because I hadn't played it in like probably 10 years. So I was like, wait, do I go now? Okay, now go.
You don't have to pick everything up.
You
but
don't.
You want
So
to.
what I got right there was chaff grenades. So I'm about to throw a chaff grenade because there is a camera. That's what that yellow cone is on the radar. So the chaff grenades disrupt electronics for a brief period. So now I can run in there and the camera won't see me.
Gotcha.
That's what those are for. And all the little particles on the screen is just to show you that there's a chaff grenade that's active.
Yeah.
You see how the camera moves like that? It's just, it's amazing.
I am really amazed by the level of detail in this. How many different little things
There's
you've got
Ben.
coming into play, and how you use them in your gameplay. That's very interesting to me.
It would take a while. Like you could sit for hours you'd have to spend a whole like 5 episodes breaking down what you can do in these games and Easter eggs. It's amazing. Cage, you've played them all, right? Or have you just played the first one?
I've played 1, 2, part of 3, and 4 as far as Metal Gear Solid goes.
Gotcha.
I've also played through. I haven't played through, but I played the original one.
And Scotty, they get more advanced. Like this is
Really?
just the basics, right, Cage?
Yeah.
This is just at the beginning of. You
My
just build on it from here.
my personal problem beyond Metal Gear Solid 2, and even a lot with Metal Gear Solid 2 still, is the storyline gets really convoluted.
It almost goes too far. Yeah.
Yeah. And while 1, 2, and 3 are very good, 3, you go back in time. Well, you don't go back in time, but you're playing like earlier in time.
Yeah. No, it's
So-
definitely way back in the past.
Yeah, so things are not like as advanced as they are here. They have to dumb it down for the time frame.
Right.
And then 4, when 4 came out, that was the whole reason I bought a PlayStation 3. And Kojima just goes super artistic on it, like to the point of I remember every single cutscene, like in between the segments, start with I believe a little girl frying eggs, and all you're seeing is like the pan frying eggs,
Right.
and it's just weird. Like he's trying to make
Built an
weird
entire
statements.
universe.
Yeah.
So right
So-
here, to select the items, you use the left bumper and the right bumper. So you can hold it down to kind of bring up that menu. There's the right bumper, and I'm scrolling through. I let it go when I want to select something. You can also, if I remember, tap it instead of hold it to turn it on and off real fast, whatever item you have. So what I was just looking at was the guard. He was sleeping, standing up, and that little vent behind him on the ground, that's where you crawl through to proceed to the next place. But I was also playing around to show off, like, I'm going to go an alternate route, which is upstairs. So you can actually go up the stairs to a different vent. They both take you to the same place, but the one upstairs, I think one of them has rats, and you get like a little extra bonus codec call. And then some of the characters that you talk to on that codec are not essential. You can, but you don't have to. Like Nastasha Romanenko right there that I was just talking to is just an extra one to call. She's supposed to be your nuclear weapons, specialist, and Kojima is very big on history, so you can call and just sit there and listen to them talk about historical facts, talk about how many nuclear weapons are in the world today, how much waste there is, and they really start getting deep into stuff, political things, historical things. I just killed the guy right there.
Nothing more satisfying than breaking someone's neck.
So now they're going to call and say there's the vent
I
to go
will
through.
take that clip of you saying that, Cage, and use it completely out of context for several things now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I really am impressed with the level of detail on this.
The voice acting superb.
Yeah.
They did a really good job. And David Hayter, the guy who plays as Snake, is not really a voice acting is like his second job. He's a script writer. He wrote like X-Men for Hollywood. Like X-Men. He just happens to have a badass voice, and he's done some games too. And they're like, "Oh, you're our guy."
Well,
Yeah, listening to the actual audio of him talking to like the dude on the screen right now, you know, he's like, "Master, why are you here?"
Yeah,
he sounds.
It's almost laughable, but it just became so iconic. He just stuck with it, you know, made it even more gritty.
Well, you often find the best voice actors in the places you least expect to find them, like Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah, people that when it's not their bag, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So notice how this is first person. So that's another thing. It's just the ability to switch back and forth from first person to third person. And on such an old game. I mean, 98's not super old, right? There's other games that are far older, but the stuff you can do is just incredible. It is 2 discs, so it's pretty long.
Well, you think about 1998, and for us, it sounds like, you know, oh, that was just a couple years ago, bro. But it was 24 years ago.
No, life was so much different. It was a different time for me, for sure.
We're fucking old, Cage. So yeah, well, 2 discs. You were talking about, you know, up to 45-minute cutscenes.
Yeah.
Imagine, you know,
in the second one,
you have to.
This one's got some long stuff too.
You have to, you know, have a space on your game discs for all of those cutscenes, plus the actual game itself.
Right, and the girl I was just talking to there, Mei Ling, she gives you like a Chinese proverb, right? She'll give you some wise saying every time you call her to save a game. So you save the game, then she'll tell you something, and then and it became tradition. Like sometimes you just want to call her to see what else she's going to say.
Interesting.
I mean, you can't even see his eyes, right? His facial features. The graphics are so old, but for its time, and that glitchiness right there is probably just from the emulator, by the way. For its time, yeah, all that stuff right there. This was this had never been done before. This was like the most innovative, amazing thing ever.
So we've got about a little over 5 minutes here left in the first part of the playthrough. Why don't you tell us like about advancing throughout the game, through the various stages of it? Does it get more intense? How do you deal with it in different scenarios, and then actually completing the game?
It's pretty simple as far as what you have to do. You have to get from point A to point B, and it starts to get a little harder. The guards, and sometimes there's camouflage involved, so the guards are invisible. There's traps. But it's mostly just going back and forth, like, oh, I can't get through door A because I don't have a card, and I can get the card from like that room. You know what I mean?
So
once
there's
you get through it all,
puzzle aspects as well.
Yeah, once you get through it all, you'll find every once in a while, there's a boss fight. You have to fight a helicopter. You have to, because you get Stinger missiles eventually, so it gets pretty crazy. But it's mostly what captivated you is once you get through the game, or the level, I guess. You fight a boss, and then there's some long, dramatic dialogue between you and the guy who's dying, and you learn about his tribe and the ancient people of whatever. It's just like somehow he ties so many things together, and and then you proceed to the next level, and then you have to change the disc and keep going. And they always had a tradition at the end of the game. Once you beat it, it's epic. It's long. The boss fight was amazing. There's like multiple stages to it, because you think you killed somebody, and then he's like, "Oh no, he's alive," and now he's driving after you, stuff like that. And then you let the credits roll, and the credits have beautiful music. It's you just wait and wait, and at the end of the credits, before Marvel existed with their movies, you have the tradition of having some dialogue. You can't see anything, but there's dialogue at the end of the credits, and it's always a conversation between one or two people and on the phone or something. And it's usually the biggest twist of the entire game is at the end credits. So it always, you're like, oh, I got to play the next one.
So it's almost it's literally almost like driving you to continue playing the game no
Right.
matter what throughout each stage, at the very least, just to get to the end, and all the way through the credits to hear that dialogue at the end.
Yeah. And so even up to the most recent game, I was like, okay, I gotta wait till the credits are over, right? You don't want to skip the credits because there's got to be something.
Well, at the very
I gotta
least,
say, there's one section right here that's so you come back to this room multiple times, and later on, they tell you, hey, you have to call Meryl, and you'll find her frequency number on the back of the CD case. And I spent so freaking long looking through my items, running around the game, trying to figure out where the hell is that damn CD case. And I wasn't alone. Most people do that. Come to find out, I was just sitting there pouting one day like, man, I'm never going to beat this game. This was before YouTube and stuff. So I was just stuck. And then I looked at the back of my CD case in my hand.
yeah.
And I saw the number.
The
Yeah, he breaks the
actual
fourth wall all the
game
time.
case, Yep.
All the time. Yep. That was good times.
Well, and you're talking about, before there was YouTube and all that. Yeah, of course, nowadays you can look up and, watch
Yeah,
some
yeah.
gameplay or
I
find a
don't like doing
guide
that.
or
I mean,
anything
if
like
it's
that.
really, really, if I'm stuck, for sure I'll do it. But
There,
I don't really do it.
that time in gaming where those were not options. So you either had to figure it out by spending hundreds of thousands of hours just going through the motions, or you gave up.
Well, and that was something that they did try to do something differently or whatever. Because they're not the only ones that done it. One other one that springs directly to my mind of doing something like fourth wall breaking, or maybe not necessarily fourth wall breaking, but something in that same vein where you cannot find all the information contained where the information should be,
Right.
is Final Fantasy IX, the guidebook for Final Fantasy IX, the strategy guide that you bought separately. You had to log into their Play Online website service to get certain pieces, certain maps, things of that nature. Of course, now in 2022, it doesn't really matter because you can just get it for free on the internet, but the Play Online service also doesn't exist anymore either. So that guidebook's completely useless. Same to this point, if we didn't have internet access and we didn't know to look on the back of the CD case, or didn't have the CD case, think about going to a video game store and you didn't always get the game case, if you bought it used.
Yeah, that was the first thought that entered into my mind when you said that. Slight is like, well, what happens if you bought it used? You bought it from a friend of yours, or you
Right.
got to went to an exchange and you don't have an original case.
Yeah, well, that would suck. But as Banana was saying, I had just recently, I don't know, I think over the summer, I had talked to him about Metal Gear, and I was like, oh yeah, he said, what should I play during summer vacation? And I told him about this game, and he was,
Metal Gear.
I didn't hear from him most of the summer. The dude was playing them back to back to back to back to back. He played all the Metal Gear games. Like he's just saying right now, he spent 2 hours trying to find that stupid thing on the back of the CD case.
Wow.
It took me days.
All right. Well, that's the end of the first part of the playthrough here. If you have any questions for Slight, or in general on Metal Gear Solid, because Slight is our resident expert, please go ahead and ask them in our live chat. And we're going to take a short commercial break and then come back for part 2 of Slight's playthrough of Metal Gear Solid. So stay tuned. All right, we are back in action. Yeah, if you just saw that, no, it's not Home Alone. No, we're doing Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is now in the public domain. It was written in 1926 by A.A. Milne, and 95 years later, it's now in the public domain. So we're going to be doing an adaptation of that, and it'll be on December
That's why
18th.
also why that horror movie now exists.
Yeah.
Blood and Honey, I think it's called.
Yeah, Pooh, Blood and Honey. That's great.
I thought it was a joke when I saw it.
No, it's yeah. But yeah, so well, yeah, mine's not going to have blood in it though. At least not. Yeah. No, we're for here on the EBC channel. We will tell you right out that this is a fucking mature. Even though we are not mature, it's for mature audiences. We cover a lot of adult content here, and this will be the first and potentially the only show on the EBC channel that will be made for children. And not necessarily like for children, but I mean it will be child friendly. So I'm gonna invite everybody, you know, have your kids in that. Thank God you don't have any kids, Cage.
I know, right?
I don't. Yeah,
so
you procreating, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're going to get into the second part of the playthrough. I got to switch this thing over here, and hopefully this is going to work and not blow up. Let's get the volume right. There we go. Okay.
Chief, I'm Solid Snake.
Not to be confused with Liquid Snake. That's the opposite.
So the one thing he's
I'm
really
smart.
bad at is naming things.
Yeah.
Names get more ridiculous as you go. I think in the old games and like the little baby game versions of these, there's a boss called the Machine Gun Kid or something like that.
You don't look like one of them.
Pretty bad.
The Machine Gun Kid.
In that case, hurry up and get me out of here.
That also reminds me of Borderlands, where he said there was a gun in there where you can shoot like swords at people. I'm just.
You really have the ability to launch
That's cool.
What are you talking about?
The terrorists are threatening the White House.
This is
They
the part of
say
the game
if
where it
you
starts to
don't
get
accede their demands, they'll
real.
launch a
This is
nuclear
where the story starts to get like really crazy.
it possible?
It's in this whole sequence.
Hmm.
Pretty long cutscene.
Interesting. So you said you were 11 when you first played through this. Do you remember the actual first time that you played it?
So I was going over to my.
Okay.
I have these memories confused. I think the first thing was the demo disc. The second one was when I was over at my grandpa Frank's house. And his house, it was like a hoarder house, like one of those on TV. It was really bad, and couldn't even walk around in there. And I saw like there's cigarette smoke and stuff, and one of my uncles was just sitting there playing a video game, and it was this game. So like it was already in my head with the demo disc and that, and so then we got the game one day. My dad bought it for me because he played the demo with me, Yakima did, and we both liked it. He makes fun of me to this day because he's like, you know, Metal Gear's anime, and I was like, no, it's not. Anime's stupid, and he's like, it's definitely anime.
It's kind of anime.
It's especially in part 2.
It's totally
there's
like
a
the
lot
plot of an anime storyline.
the way they act, the dialogue, some of the stuff they say. But I didn't care. I thought it was awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then from that point, did you actually get
Definitely
into any other anime after realizing what this was?
I've never gotten into anime for some reason. I just kind of I like Pokemon. I watch the cartoon here and there. Yeah, I don't know why. There was no reason. I just never did.
And see, to me, anime and JRPGs kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many similarities between those two things that, you know, if you're into one, I would expect you to be into the other.
Right.
But like I've never been a big anime fan either, but I look at this game and I'm saying, yeah, this is pretty damn cool the way they designed it and set it all
Yeah, I mean
up
they made
and
it very American. This with the military. He even had a military advisor through this series to, you'll see it in the credits. Like the guy just tells him like this is what they would do.
Right.
This is how it should be. Um, so these two are just talking, and I didn't understand what I do now. Obviously, at 35, at 11 I was way different. So, but I knew enough that I wanted to play this forever. I wanted to play the next one. But back then, obviously, I had to wait like 3 years for the next one to come out. So
right.
I was 11 with the first one, and then I was 14, I guess, when the next one came out, and then 17 with the next one. It just every 3 years.
Okay, so you were talking about like you went over your relative Frank's house, and so that portion of it that's probably pretty well seared into your memory, like what the house was like and the atmosphere
it was
you
bad.
were in when you were playing the game.
Oh, I didn't play it there though.
Oh, you didn't, but you saw
I
it.
just happened to see somebody was playing. It was on the little tiny, TV,
Okay.
which they had like up on their dresser.
Do you remember the first time that you played through the full game yourself?
Playing it was the demo, and then I played it on PlayStation 1. I was all excited. It was a double disc thing.
Did you go and buy it?
No, my dad got it for me.
Okay.
Yakmo, and he and I both played it. We took turns. I played it on my own, and yeah, it was like summer break, summer vacation.
Okay.
I was just playing the heck out of this game.
So
It
you're
was really the first time I experienced something like this, because at the time there was also Resident Evil and stuff a little before this, and
right.
I wasn't really like familiar with this kind of look, this atmosphere in a game.
So you said your dad got it for you, and
Yeah.
it sounds like he was pretty much just as excited as you were about
He thought it was
playing this.
cool, yeah. But he's like a traditional action guy. He likes Bruce Willis. He likes shoot 'em up stuff. He likes psychological thrillers. But as the series progressed, and it started going way left and like weird, he lost interest in it. Whereas I kept playing it all the way through.
Okay. You mean with subsequent the sequels?
Yeah, I think he made it to the end of the second one and never played anymore.
Okay. So do you remember, either the first time you played or that summer, as you were working your way through this, what were some of the things that you were feeling about the game, the
That's a great
storyline,
question.
and
So I was kind of like stalling, waiting for this section. Right here, dude's about to have a heart attack, right? So this is the guy you're supposed to rescue. And this is the moment
Spoilers.
where you really... What's that?
shut up, Gage.
I said spoilers. Gosh.
It's 1998. It's about to happen right now. So the guy's gonna have a heart attack, right? And that's it. And at that moment you're like, whoa, what just happened? I was supposed to rescue this guy, and then you start learning more, and then other things. There it is, right here. And at this very moment, you're in for the rest of the story. It's so well told. And there's other things that happen later in this game that continue to get weirder and weirder. It's like a murder mystery / government conspiracy. And Metal Gear's always very science-based, so even if you see something really weird and supernatural, there's like some sort of explanation for it. And I don't think it's in this playthrough. I didn't get that far, but there's some things that stick with you for the rest of your life. Like one of the boss fights is Psycho Mantis. He's exactly what it sounds like. He can. They all have animal code names, right? Snake, Mantis, Ocelot. And he's all like telekinetic. He can move things with his mind, and he can. And so that was literally one of the greatest moments in gaming history, where you're in this room, you're trying to kill him, you can't shoot him, nothing you do is working because he just dodges you. It's like the Matrix, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Then these guys call you, or you call them, right? And you're trying like, what do I do, Colonel? and it just kind of drags on for a while, and you're starting to get frustrated, and they don't know, you don't know, and you just got to keep calling them and find out, and working with these AI, these characters, to tell you. And eventually, the answer is you unplug the controller and plug it into controller port 2, because somehow he can't read
Oh
controller
my
port 2.
god.
Right. And then before that, I skipped a whole bunch of stuff. Before that, during the cutscene where he's like messing with you, he says, "I'm Psycho Mantis. I know all these things," and he reads your mind, right? Which is what Cage was talking about earlier. He reads your memory card. He's like, "This is what kind of games you like to play," and he starts naming stuff. He bases it off of what you do in the game. So he's like, "You're kind of a reckless guy," or how many times you saved, right? So he'll read your personality based off of how you've played the game.
Interesting.
And then he's like, "Now for my final act," he set the controller down. He tells you to set the controller down on a flat surface, and he starts like using the force, right? Making the controller vibrate. That's the DualShock. And at the time, when you see the controller vibrate, I was freaking out. I mean, what are you going to do, right? It's 1998. You're 11 years old. This stuff doesn't exist like it does today.
Right.
Well, for him to tell me what kind of person I am based off the gameplay, what kind of games I've played, and then all of a sudden make the controller move, it was the closest I've ever come to playing with a Ouija board. It was amazing.
So he really got into your head.
Dude, I'll never forget that. No, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
It sucks because people today, if you were to ever start playing it, and even if I didn't tell you this stuff, it wouldn't have the same impact, you know, because
well,
2022, we can do all kinds of stuff.
Right, I was just thinking, Cage, are there any other mainstream games that do that?
Nothing that I know of.
Not that I know of, no.
This was
Not to
the
the
one.
extent that this game did.
I mean,
This was
there's one
amazing.
thing to be said about, like, you know, puzzles that are part of the storyline, or, you know, the Easter eggs and things like that. But I mean, you know, you had the Rumble Pack on the N64. You had, you know, a couple other things like that. That's the first time that I've heard that they're actually building things like that, so that there's almost not only breaking the fourth wall, but also you know, like building a multi-angular experience into the gameplay, so that it's even more immersive than you would
now you have
expect.
controllers like I didn't follow PlayStation. I had PS1, PS2, and I had PS3 for a little bit, but I know like the newer ones, the controllers light up, and there's
Mhm.
also a speaker, I think, right, in the newer controllers. Yeah. Yep. So I mean, now it would be crazy if he could make a game, you know, using that. But he always likes to take. So Kojima, a little backstory on him. He wanted to be. He loves like James Bond. He loves old American stuff. Even though you know, he's Japanese, he lives in Japan, but he's always wanted to be a movie director. And his inspiration was old James Bond spy films and stuff. And he didn't get to be a movie director. He just ended up getting a job making some games, and he was bummed out about it. So what he did was he decided, well, I'm gonna make games like movies, and that's why you have this.
That's interesting.
So they're basically interactive movies because there's more cutscene in game, I think.
So educate me a little bit. Is there anything else that this guy has done besides Metal Gear Solid series?
He did like so. There's when I was talking about Easter eggs, you can see things like Zone of the Enders.
You're muted, Cage.
There's Psycho Mantis right there.
There you go.
So there's Easter eggs in the game that you can find that have like old posters, either of like the developers' wives or games that Kojima has made. So he's done other stuff too, but this is like just like George Lucas has done other stuff, but Star Wars is his thing. This is his thing. This is what Kojima's known.
The stuff you'd be most familiar with, Scotty, personally, would be there was a game that came out a couple years ago. I know that Witch Whitney has talked about it because I know it's one of her favorite games, called Death Stranding.
Yep,
Had Norman Reedus in it.
that's his newest baby.
The other thing that you might be familiar with of his work would be actually something else starring Norman Reedus, and that was actually a demo for the
Yep.
PlayStation called PT.
Oh yeah,
that was supposed to end up being a new Silent Hill game called Silent Hills,
Yep.
and unfortunately, it got canned by Konami.
Fucking
That's a
Konami.
whole. There's a
Pretty
whole. There's a whole nother conversation, but there's a lot of like stuff that was going down between him and Konami, and PT got messed up, and it was a whole thing.
I got to imagine that it's almost like creative intelligence versus marketing and business, and these
Business,
two are
yeah.
butting heads.
To short, in like as concise and short as I can make it, he basically it started around Metal Gear 5, I'd say. Actually, before that. And eventually, you don't even have the same voice actor who does Snake the whole series in 5. You had Kiefer Sutherland. Even though the Japanese version is the same guy. And then it slowly started to fall apart. They wanted him to release the game sooner than he was ready. He was taking too long.
Wow.
I don't even know. No one knows the full story. It's just we kind of pieced it together until eventually it accelerated or it got so exacerbated to the point where he wasn't even allowed to join the Game Awards. So when he got, he couldn't even be there.
Yeah.
It was messed up. It was all
Whatever happened, I mean, they pretty much like Konami basically
It's
tried
split
to own him at a certain point.
Yeah. So he ended up making his own game studio, his own graphics engine thing, Fox engine. And he's doing fine. He just takes it's like literally like 10 years per game. He's probably working on one now, but it's going to take forever to come out with something.
Okay.
He's a perfectionist. And I mean, it shows though. Look at all the stuff he does.
Oh
for
yeah,
games.
absolutely. I
Thinks
mean,
of
this is top level for the time it came out and the platform. I mean, it in my opinion, it even stands head and shoulders above like Silent Hill and that.
And by the time the second game came out, the main theme was rearranged and rescored, and all the music from that point out was done by Harry Gregson Williams, who's a Hollywood movie composer. So like they went all out. It started getting pretty cool.
That's excellent. All right, so the other games you were saying, Death Stranding with an R.
Yeah, that's the newest one.
Yeah,
Yep.
Death Stranding.
Okay.
I have not played that yet.
Yeah, I'll look that up in PT. I'll see because yeah,
PT was terrible.
that looks great, and I'd like to look at some of his. What? As much as I'm not into gaming myself, I do like watching playthroughs. So I'll go on YouTube and look some of this up and see.
I think you
watch
would
some
like this,
playthroughs.
yeah. There's too much information to cover. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's great.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit now, and what to you, Slight, are some of the best aspects of this game in particular, but the whole Metal Gear.
It was always
Series.
the story. Like number one it's always the story. There's never been a story that quite captivated me as much as this because it was so twisty. Like you would never see it coming, and then by the time the twist was over, you're spending the next couple days just processing what you experienced. It was a hell of a ride. I've never had a game do that for me. Not yet. I don't
I've
like this one.
I've heard you say multiple things that have said to me that this guy, what's his name again? I'm sorry, the creator.
Hideo
Kojima.
Kojima.
Kojima. It sounds like his storylines, his style of gameplay, what he presents to you in this whole package, multiple times has gotten into your head, and it's like
Yeah.
something that monopolizes your thoughts long after you have stopped playing the game.
The whole message of the franchise is he's very anti-nuke, which anyone can get behind that. And but he does it in such a tasteful way. In the second game, I know it's not this one, but it's the same type of stuff. Like there's a point where they're telling you, "Turn off the game, Snake. You've been playing too long." Like they start to really screw with you.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
So,
fantastic.
so the whole experience for me was just, I never wanted it to end. Obviously everything has to come to an end, but it was just so memorable for sure.
Okay, and this is the first one. Would you say this is the best out of the entire series?
That's always a tough one for me. Obviously, the first of anything is usually up there because without the first one, you can't have
Yeah,
anything else.
well, especially if it's groundbreaking too.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know, man. I actually really, really enjoyed the second one. They're all just very different. I think the second one was the height of it being, just you can't even comprehend what's happening. And the story's almost too twisted. And then by the third one, Metal Gear's kind of at its peak, and it starts to kind of come down slowly and fade away over time after that. But
Well,
I'd say it's a tie between 1 and 2 that are my favorites for sure.
one of the commenters in our live chat, Manly Banana, says
Yeah,
Metal
there
Gear
you go.
Solid 2 fucked my brain till it became like a scrambled egg.
Yeah, you have no idea, Scotty. It's crazy. Metal Gear 2, without spoiling it for you, gets into the bigger picture. So this game is all the terrorists and which guy's really the bad guy, what's really going on, what's the government doing. But in the second game, it gets to the point where now you're talking about shadow government. You're talking about the Illuminati, essentially. They call them the Patriots. So in the Metal Gear universe, they're called the Patriots. And they control everything. They control voting. You think you voted for Trump, but really it doesn't matter. They're going to put in whoever they want. That kind of level of...
Well,
You know what I mean?
And we were talking before we started the show about conspiracy theory and how we're all kind of into that, and where those
Yeah, that's what this
storylines
was,
can go.
for sure.
I've always been a big fan of dystopian future movies, especially like V for Vendetta and that. So now that you have said that to me, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing some research on this into the lore, because I'll tell you one thing: when I first came across Five Nights at Freddy's, I even downloaded the game mobile to my phone and completely and utterly failed because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with modern games.
hard.
But Five Nights at Freddy's, when I was a child, I was always constantly
game.
going to, my parents would take me to our local Cleveland version of Chuck E. Cheese's, the knockoff version
Yeah.
called Mark's Funtime Theater. So that and Chuck E. Cheese's and those animatronics. So that was a big part of my childhood, and I fell in love so much with watching Markiplier play Five Nights at Freddy's, the entire series. I went and I bought the books. There's already, I think, 5 novels based on that because I absolutely love the lore
See,
that was
that's the
associated
thing
with the game.
those, right? Is like you said, you have to buy the books.
Yeah.
I always just making fun of it, poking fun while I was playing through the first 2 games. I was telling people, how do you know? The chat was telling me all these things. Like, I'm like, where in the game does it tell me all this stuff that you're telling me? It doesn't. You have to buy the books. Whereas in Metal Gear, you dig deep enough in the game itself, you'll find the answer.
Well, and I could understand maybe if they were trying to sell guides or play stuff like that. But so besides looking at playthroughs of the Metal Gear series on YouTube or whatever else, I'm gonna look and see, are there any novels? Are there any online stories of this lore and people that have fleshed
In the
it
second
out?
game, in the menu, you do the same thing as in this one. You go and find the previous story stuff, and they have like a 200-page novel plus other little
wow.
books in there too. Yeah, you could just
That's
sit
great.
there and read them in there too. They're like between stories, what happened between there.
Right. Oh, and I love that sort of thing too, the filler material. Okay, so you watch a movie and then you watch its sequel and then you go and read the novel that is supposed to occur
Yeah.
between the 2 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not necessary. So they did it in a way where if people just want to hurry up and play the game, they don't care about that stuff, they'll enjoy it just as much as the obsessive guy who wants to read all of it. So it works. Like, you're not missing anything if you don't read it, but it's cool if you do.
Well, I'll definitely have to put this on my list and take a look at the lore.
There's a guy who has a channel on YouTube. He has masterfully made multiple edits to kind of put all the games together into movies. So you can sit and actually watch the whole thing without gameplay. He'll just keep certain things that are important and put them together.
Yeah.
And like this one is like a 4-hour movie. Or he does the whole saga for like a 12-hour video on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen things like that. I was in particular.
It's really well done though.
I
They did a
really
good job.
liked the fan-made movie on YouTube for Red Dead Redemption 2
Find it for
because they
yeah.
they do the same
I like
thing.
when they do
There's
that.
so much backstory in Red Dead Redemption in 1 and 2. All right, well that's fantastic. If anybody has any questions for Slight, go ahead and put them in our live chat now because we're going to be wrapping up here fairly soon. And I wanted to also ask you, Slight, is there any like particular memories that you have that are? You said earlier that you haven't touched this game in 10 years. Is that accurate? You
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while.
that actually is contrary to what most of our guests have done, where usually they're presenting not only a favorite game of theirs, but it's something that they regularly revisit. Like when we had Ben from the Gaming
Yeah.
Avengers talking about Mega Man X, he was saying, anytime he's got a bad day, he comes home and he boots up Mega Man X, and that's his go-to
Yeah.
game to lose himself. So I find that kind of interesting that you, as much of an impact that this game has made on you, you haven't played it in quite some
Right.
time. But
That's just an access thing, because I
but
don't have a PlayStation. So.
okay, but that actually plays into my question here, which is, so when you booted this up on the emulator because you don't have a PlayStation
Right.
to do your recording of the playthrough for our podcast here, was there anything as soon as you started playing it again that triggered in your memory? It was like something that popped into your head and said, "Oh my God, I just
Little
remembered that."
nostalgia nuggets.
Yeah.
Honestly, no. I see it from a different angle now because I understand. I was like 11 when I first got into it, but I played it all the way, sporadically all the way until I was like 20 something. But no, I remember the game so well. It's just the music is nostalgia for me, but yeah, I honestly I know the game so well. It's like the back of my hand. There's nothing that it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay. And conversely, when you hit a specific part of the game, is there something that you always remember, associate with that segment of the game? Which that probably isn't going to be much either because you haven't played it in so long.
Yeah. I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is when I first booted up. The very, very first 10 seconds. That music that you hear when it shows the Konami logo, you just know. You're like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is good stuff. Yeah, man, it's there's no particular moment besides that Psycho Mantis fight.
Right there on the playthrough, watching it back on the stream, he just talked about, it's Contactor. It should be on the CD case.
Yeah,
It was the part you were talking about earlier.
right.
The part that was so infuriating.
Yeah, there's so many moments in this game that are fourth wall breakers, and they just get worse and worse as you go.
I'm kind of
If I can
curious
type
now
something.
because I have my copy of Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 1 was actually part of the PlayStation 2 collection. It was a 3-pack that came with Metal Gear Solid 1, but like in a PlayStation 2 case, but it was still the PlayStation 1 game, PlayStation 2 being backwards compatible. And then Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3.
There's the real footage.
So I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious that if my copy has it on the back there as well.
I don't know.
Well, go find it.
I'm sure it would. It's got to.
I'll go find it. I don't care.
Okay,
It's
now
not like the game room's far away.
okay, now
See right there,
that
they're talking about
now the cage is
drums
gone, we can
corroded.
talk about him.
Nuclear waste is seeping out. That's kind of where you start.
Yeah, I was
to-
seeing that. He's actually incorporating a live, real video.
Yep, and he actually uses real historical So when sometimes in some of the games there'll be like a timeline that said 1970 this happened, 1980 this happened, and then he'll put in little parts of the games and mix it in with like reality. So they try to make it seem like it actually were real events.
All right, so this is the collection. It's the essential collection for PS2. Like I
bet you it's
said,
back.
it's
That's amazing.
it's a PlayStation 1 game, but in a PS2 style case. It is not on the back of the actual case, but they were smart enough to put it on the back of the overall collection.
There it is. Yep. There it is on the top.
There you go.
Because you look at the picture, you see Meryl, and you're like, oh, there's the yeah. I'll never forget that. Man, was I stuck.
I remember hearing a lot about Mutants takeover.
Well, and I don't know that if I were playing something like that, I would ever figure that out.
Because
Like, yeah, Banana said in the chat, it was just before that happens in the game, you pick up an item that's a CD case.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're
Just
probably
ending
flipping it over and over in the game, looking and looking,
Right.
and you know, where is the fucking code? You know, I don't know that I would have figured that out.
Yeah.
You know,
They do stuff like that throughout the games, but as you start getting wiser to it, you just expect it, so it's not as hard anymore. But the first game had the best moments.
right?
That link I put in there, by the way, that's the guy
Yeah,
who just like edits all the videos together. So if you don't ever play the games, I would highly recommend just finding the first one and watching it. It's just freaking awesome.
yeah. That's Kefka Productions.
Yeah, he does such a good job. Like, there's no other channel that edit, because some people miss something, miss a detail or something, but he's got it all in there perfectly. There's that damn CD. I thought it was that thing. It's like a floppy disk.
I'm going to spell that for the people that might be listening to this on the audio version of the podcast. That's Kefka, and then Productions with an S at the end. So yeah, check that out. That's somebody who has put together all of the cutscenes and the storyline from Metal Gear Solid on YouTube, and you can essentially watch the Metal Gear Solid movie. So
Yes. Kefka also being the villain for Final Fantasy VI.
I have one more question.
Oh, really?
Who or what was that?
That's probably where that comes from.
Like you knew something.
yeah, I thought it sounded familiar. The villain.
Dark little secret.
Yeah,
Because
the
there
main
was
villain.
there was the whole discussion between who's worse, Kefka or
Sephiroth.
Sephiroth. Yeah, did Sephiroth do this? No, it was Kefka.
Yeah, there's a let's see if I can send this to you, Scotty. So around July, Metal Gear's birthday had just passed up, because it came out in July something. It's like 2 weeks older than me. And somebody had posted something on social media. Here, I'll send it to you right now. And it was interesting because I never knew. Like, I'm looking at my phone now. He talked about how Metal Gear Solid it's dying off. It's like a victim of the modern age, where a lot of games, they have broken ports, or they don't have the right port for Steam. You can't find the game in certain places, so it's actually kind of sad. So unless you're like emulating this game, you're not going to really be able to find it as easily.
What the hell?
Okay, well, that's basically the end of the second part of the playthrough. So we're going to start to close out here. If there's any other questions, people in our live chat would like to ask, go ahead and put them in there. So, Slight, is there anything else that?
Correction. It wasn't social media. I forgot. Banana sent me that.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I remember now. That's right.
Is there anything else about this game that you feel we haven't touched on, or any other memories that you have associated with it that you wanted to tell us about?
Gosh, it was so much. I was so obsessed. I used to like look up like lore and trailers, and yeah, there's far too much to cover in here. But I think that's about it. Metal Gear will mess with your mind, and it's one of the greatest stories of all time.
So that's what's wrong with you. Metal Gear just like completely obliterated your mind. It got in there and it started worming around and.
Well, and it's funny because as I got into Twitch and I found out how little I know about games, and people are playing Final Fantasy and all these games I've never played at all.
Yeah, there is a
And I
lot.
guess I was just like in my own world, but yeah, Metal Gear is like the one that I
Was that before or after you decided to play every game ever?
what? Metal Gear?
No, how many you found out that, how complicated the actual game list is.
Oh, I decided to play every game ever first, like an idiot. Yeah, and it wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, you got to stick to that schedule, man. All
Yep.
right. So at this point, we're going to close out the audio version of the podcast. Yes, we do have an audio version. We record it live here on Twitch, and then I chop it up in the thing and post it to the RSS feed. You can find it anywhere podcasts are found. We are on every major platform, and if you spell that RCADE just like it is on the screen now, no A, just RCADE and Nostalgia Memories podcast. It'll come up. We're on, Spotify, Apple, Google, all of that good stuff. We had, I want to say 14. How many episodes did we have last season? 12 or 13 or 14? You're muted again, Cage. Fucking dumbass.
I'm so I don't cough and sniffle
I
all
know.
in the microphone.
I know.
I'm trying to be considerate. I'm pretty sure we had 12 episodes last time.
Okay, so 12 episodes in season 1 when we started last year, when I somehow convinced Cage to deal with my dumb ass for all this time. And we're on episode 3 now of season 2. So yeah, 15 episodes. And we're going to keep on going. It's working out much better schedule-wise to do these once a month. And then I posted, so we'll have 10 episodes in season 2, and then we'll shut down again for the summer in 2023. And then we'll see where it goes from there. I might be able to convince Cage to go for a season 3. I don't know. He's probably sick of this bullshit by now. But
I need to raise again.
you need to raise again? Okay. I'll give you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mail you a porcupine. I think that'll be your raise for this time.
You know what? It'll go fine with the raccoon in my roof. So
there you go, man. There you go. My mom just had trouble with squirrels in her attic, so yeah, I feel your pain. But yeah, you can check us out anywhere there's podcasts and listen and maybe play it on your way to work or when you get some free time. And most of the episodes come around like an hour and a half or so, and we just want to try to continue this method of interviewing some gamers and maybe have some content, some stories to tell, and
gamers.
Yeah, some things that you've never heard before and stuff like that. Because in my experience, most of the podcasts and the content that's out there about gamers is their skill and
Yeah, you can't.
all that stuff. Yeah, none of us has skill. We do, but we have fun, and we've got some stories to tell. So, but yeah, you can check it out. All right. So if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, thank you for joining us. Our next live recording should be for episode 4. Our guest that day will be Isnib, and he will be presenting the OG Doom. So that will be, it should be on Sunday, December 11th. And that's at twitch.tv/EBC2021. And you can always check and make sure with my schedule that's posted on my website. That's EBC2021.com. And, if we have any changes to the schedule, that'll post there. And you can check it all out, and then we also have things lined up for January. I don't want to go into that now, but like I said, we will have 10 episodes, and this is episode 3, and we're going to try to mix it up a little bit. We're going to have another roundtable, I think, in February, although I haven't decided what that's going to be. And of course, you can also contact us through the website too. Like if you've got any notes or feedback or anything like that, there's a contact form on the website, and you can send us a message, and we'll be glad to hear what you have to say about it if you one of the few people that have found this podcast, and you want to continue with it. We've captured at least somewhat of a slight percentage. You see what I did there? Slight percentage of your attention, and we're moving forward with that. So, all right.
Felt differently, but I see what you did.
Say goodnight, Cage.
Good night, Cage.
And yeah, don't do anything I wouldn't do because, well, I said I'm not going to do it. Okay? Thank you. Goodbye. All right. For everybody left here on Twitch, Magic of Tetra, welcome. I've seen your name before. I can't remember where I've seen you before, though. Man, huh?
He's a magician.
Oh, magician. Oh, that I've seen you on Slate's channel. Okay. Yeah, the Slight is the magic man. He's our resident magic guy, and he's playing every game ever except for today. He's not playing a game. He's just coming over on my channel, yakking. And but welcome, and yeah, I will also keep this VOD up if you want to go back and watch the entire podcast, the interview we've done here. I will leave that up. So no problem there. And Manly Banana, thank you. And good to see you. Banana. And anybody else that I missed, that stopped in, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to be raiding out soon here. So let's go on over to coming attractions on the EBC channel. First of all, I'm going to try, I tried to do this last Monday night and I failed because I had some other pressing issues. So I'm going to try again tomorrow night to do some Castlevania 2 practice for the speed run that's coming up. And we'll see what's going on. I may or may not be able to do it.
Have you actually set a day for
No.
your official speedrun attempt?
No. I'm guessing it's probably going to be in January sometime.
Okay.
Because I'm wrapping up or currently focusing on the Christmas special that's coming up on December 18th and some other things. And I really do need to get a little more practice in and regular practice before I attempt that and make sure my live splits are all set up properly and all that good stuff. If I had to guess, it's going to be sometime in January, but I'm not sure exactly when. So we'll see. But tomorrow night, I may be playing that around 8 o'clock on my channel here. Tuesday, Ancient Airwaves is back. And we took a break with a couple other things here on the EBC channel. CBS Radio Crime Classics is the series that we're going to be looking at on Tuesday. So stop by for that if you're into old-time radio. Wednesday night in the Conflux for our regular DMCA Nope series. If you have never seen this movie, you do not know what you are missing. Nothing but trouble. Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Demi Moore, Brian Doyle Murphy. Digital Underground is in this movie. Okay, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. Stop by the Conflux. It is a fantastic movie. It's not very well known, but my God, you will laugh your ass off. So yeah, just go there to the Conflux Discord if you're not in there, Tetra, and anybody else that's interested in that, you can join the Conflux, and we'll be doing that on Wednesday night. Then on Thursday night, That's Not Real Trek continues with Short and Sweet and my co-host, and we're going to be in the middle of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, so episodes 5 and 6.
It's so good.
You like it?
Oh yeah, I'm loving it so far.
And you haven't even really, because of your work situation, you're not even
I can't pay all the way attention.
Yeah, but I mean, it is good. It really is good. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, if you haven't seen it, it's the newest Star Trek television series that's out on CBS, Paramount Plus, and we're going through all of the new Trek bit by bit. So we did some Discovery, and now we're into Strange New Worlds. After after a little bit of time here, we're going to get into Lower Decks, which is the newer animated, first animated series. They actually have 2 animated series now.
And Lower Decks is also, well, the 2 animated series. Obviously, the first animated series was probably targeted towards children
Right.
/ people who just wanted the show to continue. But Lower Decks is definitely comedy oriented, from
Oh,
what I
yes.
understand.
Yes,
I have not
absolutely.
seen any of it yet, but it's supposed to be
Yeah,
not taking itself seriously.
right. I'll put it to you this way: even though it's it's still considered canon for a number of
Mhm.
reasons, and we'll get into that when we get to it. But you actually have 3 animated series now. The original animated series that came out in 1972, and that ran for 2 seasons. And yes, it was geared towards children. If you want to look for something that's comparable, look at Johnny Quest, or even the original Scooby Doo. You know, that type of animation, and that's the style that, and it was geared towards kids. The newer one, the first one, Lower Decks, is much more akin to The Simpsons or Family Guy, I think, in the comedy style and the inside jokes and all that. And then the newest one, Prodigy, is like an anime almost. It's a very specific art style, and it's all drama. And there's
And that one's on Nickelodeon, so like,
Yeah.
110% it is definitely geared at the kids.
Right. Yeah, it's like the older style of kids adventure. So anyway, yeah, we're going through it bit by bit. That's just about every Thursday, and you can also check that out on the schedule when we're doing that and what episodes we're looking at. But this Thursday will be episodes 5 and 6 of Strange New Worlds. And so if you haven't seen this before, this is fantastic. This is our Enigma Blockbuster Cinema show, and it is a spoof of Mystery Science Theater 3000. And we just sit there and roast the movie as we go through it, except they're all blockbuster movies. Now, we also do that on the Conflicts Discord. The one that we are doing on Sunday, November 20th, is Django Unchained, which is one of the craziest fucking movies I've ever seen, which is no surprise because it's a Tarantino movie. But we will have a lot of fun with that. So if you're in the Conflux, stop on by for that. And then finally, that same night, that starts at 7 p.m. At 10 p.m. on Cage's channel will be the premiere of Cage Match Wrestling. Cage, you want to talk about that for a minute?
Well, let me tell you something, brother. No, I can't.
Shut the fuck up.
I can't keep a straight face long enough to do it. So Cage Match Wrestling is a online wrestling league where I actually have everything done through the WWE 2K22 game. I have characters created, some of which people have paid for via channel points on my channel, some of which people have been given contracts to create a starting roster. The first episode this Sunday. You put December 20th there, Chief.
No. Yeah, hold on a second. I'm gonna fix it right now. Nothing is wrong. Everything is completely right because see, it says November. Okay, there's nothing wrong with anything I did. I fixed it. Shut the fuck up. Okay.
This Sunday, November 20th.
No, next Sunday. Is that this coming Sunday? No,
It's 1 week from tonight.
That's not next Sunday. That's next Sunday.
That's this. I want to kill you.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
So the first 3 episodes are planned. The first 2 episodes are going to be a tournament. The first episode will feature the preliminary matches of the tournament. There'll be 8 matches in total. I've been announcing the matches on my Twitter page over the past few days. The last announcement goes up as soon as I press this button that I already have built for this. So the full bracket will be revealed.
Press a button.
Okay, fine. I'll press the damn button. Jesus. Button is pressed. The final matches are up. All 16 competitors for the tournament have been revealed. That will be episode 1, those preliminary 8 matches. Episode 2 will finalize the end of the tournament. Slate's playing with cards. Episode 2 will finalize the end of the tournament. The winner of the tournament, episode 2 is December 4th. I should say that. The winner of the tournament will go on to episode 3, which will be our first quote unquote pay-per-view event. And that will be called Cage Match Wrestling Seasons Beatings. And it will be on December 11th. The winner of the tournament will face the owner of Cage Match Wrestling, aka my character, for the Cage Match Wrestling Global Championship. A few other titles will be decided that night as well that I'm not ready to reveal. And a couple other things will happen that night too. So
Okay,
it'll
so
be
you're saying
entertaining.
November 20th, December 4th, and December 11th?
That is correct.
Okay.
And then we will, admittedly, after the first pay-per-view, take a hiatus for the holidays, and then return after the first, sometime after the first of the year.
Gotcha.
But we're looking to get it in a regular, hopefully every other week thing. Schedules permitting, because it does involve me and 2 other people, Casual Mur and Modern Toy Fair, who will be helping me with announcing and commentating and other things that we're going to be doing during the broadcast. So, yeah, if you are a wrestling fan, please come by.
And if you aren't a wrestling fan, we'll just hog tie you and make you watch.
Yeah, that sounds about accurate.
Yeah. All right. Slight, what do you have coming up on your channel?
Nothing out of the norm except for January. I'd like to start my my next series. Remember Nostalgia? I'm doing From Ages Past. Ages backwards is Sega. So I'm going to be doing
Sega.
that I ever played or that I ever owned, which is a lot longer list than the Nostalgia one.
Okay, so that's what you're doing in January. What are you doing next month? And the rest of November?
Same as always, just playing through games, trying to get through my list.
Yeah, what do you have on your list? What's coming up?
I don't remember my own schedule. I think
You're like, I don't know what the fucking games are. Just come over and see.
Yeah, I have Kingdom Hearts coming up, Chain of Memories. I hear that's the word. I have Zelda 2 coming up. These are all channel point redemptions, so I'm not happy about it.
That's right. I remember that Zelda 2. I can't wait to see
Undertale
you. I can't wait to
coming up.
see you get so frustrated with Zelda 2. You're gonna throw your controller.
I probably will. I have enough controllers though. So Undertale, Kingdom Hearts, Zelda 2, bunch of stuff. Batman, Star Wars, anything and everything. I don't really ever know what I'm gonna play. I just kind of wing it.
All right, that's fine.
I post them all on the YouTubes, which I also conveniently have a very, very fancy.
Yeah. Did you reveals? Did you? They just changed on YouTube.
They did the handles.
So the handles. Did you get a fancy new SleightofGame handle yet?
So there I was, waiting for my handle. I got to 100 subscribers. I ended up trying to get a handle, and they're like, "Oh, we're in the middle of updating our whole thing," so I couldn't do it. I had to. They said they'll contact me in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks,
Okay.
they were done updating their new system, and now it's the handles, right? So now it's a whole / at whatever. Mysteriously, SleightofGame is gone. Somebody took it. Somebody in 2010.
What the fuck?
Which is not possible because no one in the world had that name, and I know for a fact because I put it everywhere.
Well, and yet this whole handle system is brand new.
Yeah. And so somebody has SleightofGame, and the account was created in 2010. It's like a dead account on YouTube. There's no videos or anything. It might be like my old Google that somehow.
You should send them a message and threaten them mafia style. You know.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine because tomorrow they're going to give you a handle regardless of whether you have one or not. They'll just assign you a random one, and then that one will be assigned, which means I'll be able to take the SleightofGame one.
And then
That's
you can
my-
change it. Okay.
Right, right. For
All
now,
right.
it's SleightofGames with an S. I hated putting that S there. It hurt my soul, but it's there.
All right, and Cage. Anything else besides cage match wrestling coming up? You finally cheese the fuck out of Drac in Castlevania 1.
I did.
That only took you a
Um,
couple of 1,000 hours.
Right. So for my channel right now, I am in the middle of what I'm calling Castlemania. It's 8 Castlevania games, not in any type of sequential order, but there's 2 of them from the NES, 2 of them from Super Nintendo, 1 from Sega Genesis, and 3 from the Game Boy that I am doing. I think that's 8. Yeah, just doing those are kind of like my next playthroughs, and then that will put me at 48 games completed. I have a 49th game picked out, and then I have a 50th game picked out, and I'm really excited actually for the 50th game. I'm not going on the whole every game ever quest like Slight, but I am
Stupid
trying to
quest.
get through a ton of games, and so far, yeah, we're at 42 games on the channel, and we're going towards 50. And I picked out a special game for that, so I'm real excited.
That's not bad considering that 2 years ago almost you started your channel to force yourself to finish games.
Yep.
So
that was the whole thing behind
pretty damn
my
good.
channel. Beyond Castlemania, I've got tons of little side projects that are going to happen between like the next few months, and I'm going to take the opportunity to pimp out my wife. Short and sweet, is going to be doing Disney games in December, and she's going to be doing Disney-cember. She hasn't done anything as far as choosing it or actively doing anything with it, but I'm going to force her to do it. So,
yeah, I'm waiting for that too.
Yeah,
there's
I'm
like
excited
several
for it.
people I'm like, would you just hurry to fuck up and stream already again? That's Short and Sweet. That's Whitney. Doom's always welcome, but at least I see him roughly once a week, at least.
Yep. Like honestly, some of the people like Doom does stream here and there, but yeah, Short and Sweet, Whitney, Steph Babies, Mr. Wrong, some of the people that I watch very, very heavily that haven't been streaming lately because
Less competition,
life.
I say.
That's true. That's true.
But I mean, I also get that too because, man, life these days, it just seems like it's going in 10 million different directions, and you're always busy, and everybody's like this, we have so much going on in our lives. Like, I mean, I was just talking to, you guys and several others this past week. I've got a job interview coming up on Tuesday, which is, yeah, it's going to be good for me. But it's probably also going to take away from a little bit of the time that I have now to work on stuff and take care of myself and, take care of my house and all that. But we'll see how it goes. It may be, if I get this job, that it's going to settle my life a little bit because I will have that regular thing. I will have, the income coming in without having to try to worry about what I'm doing when and all that. And it's going to be a steady thing. So
having this set schedule does help a lot. I found a lot of structure within my own personal channel once I started having a set schedule. Other things, will always interrupt it, but having a set schedule, and I know you're not afforded that with your current position.
So. I'm not, but I also have the flexibility to work around what I want to,
Oh, that's true.
Like when I was sick, I was just like, fuck it, I'm not going to work,
I'm not doing a damn thing.
Yeah. So, but I get it. All right. So thank you very much. Go check out Slight. Go check out Cage. If you're in my chat and you're not already following them, what the fuck are you even doing with your life? I don't know. It's starting to piss me off what you people are not doing. Like I say at the close of every stream, don't do anything I wouldn't do because I'm not going to do that shit. But apparently you people are doing that shit anyway. You're not listening to me. You're not taking my advice. It's almost like I'm a nothing, a nobody, and you're just throwing it back in my face like you're throwing the trash in the proper receptacles as you exit the theater, and you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. Okay? Listen to the words that are coming out to my mouth. Ain't nobody...
Man, don't understand the words that come out of your mouth.
Yeah. Don't do anything I wouldn't do because I'm not gonna do that shit.
Oh, he's
Okay.
gonna do that shit.
Thank you. We're going to go raid Dr. Orochi. If you do not know this streamer, he's a little bit bigger, but he is bigger because he is fantastic. I highly recommend this guy. Go check him out. Go give him a follow. I would appreciate it. He is a fantastic streamer. I love his style. He's doing retro tonight. Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining. We'll see you next time here on the EBC channel where Cage will be swallowing an entire zucchini without choking, and he's already agreed to this and I'm not going to pay him. Thank you. Goodbye.